Welcome to this practice of move and release. And this week we have been looking at holding and releasing in the body and noticing holding in the physical body, in the breath, holding a sensation or tensions also in the mind through practice. So this is a continuation of that, but as usual, this practice is more about coming into the body in a more mindful, gentle way. We often work the body, use the body, and actually this practice is about allowing the body to almost lead us a little bit. So we're going to start with some deliberate kind of myofascial work, and I don't have a foam roller, and a lot of people don't, so I'm just going to use a rolled up yoga mat to start. So you might want to roll up your mat to join me. It won't be quite the same experience, but it'll give you a sense of it. And if you enjoy it, then you might decide to go on and get yourself a foam roller, and you can look online for lots of really lovely free resources around using foam rollers for myofascial release. And then we're going to get rid of it and just use the weight of the body in the ground. So let's come down onto the earth and let's get going. But we are going to come onto the yoga mat as we do that. So you need it to be reasonably firm, and it will make sense why in a moment. So I'm going to bring my body, sit onto the side, and then I'm going to kind of bring my upper back onto the yoga mat beneath me, and I'm just going to support my head for a moment. Support my head, feet on the ground, and you want the space across the shoulder blade, so the main body of the shoulder blade, so not right at the top where it meets the shoulder, meets the neck rather, and not right at the bottom where it's coming more across the middle ribs. So you can see there's a sort of softening through the front of the body, a little bit of flexion to the upper spine here, and I'm just supporting my head. And just feel the body kind of settling into the ground. And that weight of the head, really get a sense of giving away the weight of the head into the hands. I haven't put everybody on mute. Just realised. Yeah. Weight of the head into the hands. And then very gently, with that kind light of attention resting into the spine, just begin to give away a little bit of the weight of the head. And then bring the head back. And this could be the smallest of movements. It doesn't have to be as large as mine. Just very gently, just giving away the weight of the head. And as you do that, you'll notice the ribs kind of expanding a little bit, chest rising a little bit. And as you come out of that and you bring the head back towards the chest, you'll notice the front ribs soften and the belly soften. So you're sort of very quietly rocking the head with full support of the hands backwards and forwards. Yeah, maybe just one more time. And you might like to explore how far the body wants to meet that rocking of the head backwards. So you probably feel some really firm pressure between the upper back and the yoga mat beneath you. And then come out of this shape. And if the tummy muscles can't really support the weight of the head, don't worry, then you can really engage the arms to help the head come back. And just take a breath, soft breath. Rest if you need to. Come up if you need to for a moment. And then we're going to actually release the hands down. And we're going to move the top of the shoulders a little further down on the mat. So that actually now the mat is meeting the very top part of the shoulder. And then we're going to hold the head again. So we've moved from the main body of the shoulder blade now more to the top of the shoulder. We're going to rest the head into the hands, give away a little bit of the weight of the head, supported by the arms. Elbows moving in towards one another is probably more comfortable than arms out to the side. See which you prefer. And then we're going to press down through the feet. And as we press through the feet, we can tuck the tailbone. So I'll just show you with my hand against my trousers, that tuck of the tailbone. So we get that spreading and broadening of the lower back as the tailbone moves towards the belly. As we take that tuck, we might be comfortable to press through the feet and just float the spine up a little way. And as you float, you may find that actually you're coming to rest on your shoulders on this yoga mat. And then come down again and release. And just take this once or twice more. You're maybe just staying with the rocking, feeling the weight or the pressure increase around the shoulders as you press through the feet and tuck the tailbone. Or maybe you're feeding up from that tuck. You're pressing through the feet and you're tucking the tailbone and you're getting a little height through the pelvis. And you may find that as you come up, you can sort of press through the feet and shift the weight of the body back so that the shoulder blades almost feel like they're moving on the mat beneath you. And then as you lower the pelvis down, it's as if those shoulder blades are moving and dropping back down towards the ground. And of course, if you had a foam roller, you would be rolling with it at this point. So we'll just take that once or twice more, tucking the tailbone, floating the pelvis, pressing through the feet, feeling maybe the shoulders moving away from the yoga mat beneath you as if they were moving to the ground above the yoga mat. And then as you come down, the shoulder blades come back down with the body, with the spine, and pelvis rest onto the ground. Okay. And then supporting your head, just roll to the side. And at this point, you're going to come up nice and slow. You might want to roll your mat open. If you're not on a comfortable surface for you to practice on, or you fear that you're going to slip on the surface you're on, just roll your mat open and then come back to lie back on the ground. And just have a little notice how it is through the shoulders and the back. And then let's repeat similar movement for the head and the shoulders now. So we're going to interlace the hands around the base of the head. So not the top of the head, not around the neck, but around the base of the head where the head meets the neck. And let's just let the shoulders be a little bit, elbows be a little bit wide. Feel comfortable through the spine, so you may need a blanket under the body. Bring the elbows in towards you again and get that sense of kind of arms almost hugging a little into the face. And then drop the shoulders. As you breathe out, release the shoulders. So you may want to squeeze them first to get a sense of where they are and how they feel. Hold that squeeze and then release them. Release them. And feel the weight of the head in the hands. And see if you can take a couple of breaths to really focus the mind on softening the muscles of the neck and the head, so that as you breathe out, the weight of the head is really invited to meet the hands and meet the ground. And if this feels very difficult, don't worry, because we hold in so many places all the time and we don't notice. And part of this practice is just to notice where we are holding, just to bring that kind light of attention in and to see. And then keeping that head really heavy when you're ready, using the arms, not the belly. So using the strength of the arms, not the abdomen. Lift the head up a little, bringing the chin towards the chest, but the head is still really heavy. You're supporting all the weight of the head and the neck in your arms. And then very gradually begin to slide one elbow toward the knee on the same side. And this will take the head in a kind of lateral movement, or take the neck rather in this side to side movement. And you just go from one side to the other. So there's this very gentle supporting of the head as you just slide one elbow towards the knee on the same side. And then swapping sides. And as you move in this way, you can feel again that mid part probably of the shoulder blade and the top of the shoulder blade just kind of moving against the ground. And there's no need to force here. If you get tired at any time, just rest. No need to force, but just feel that kind of the ground just massaging the back. And we've kind of done similar movements before using those massage balls. And coming back to center, and we're going to really connect into the weight of the head. So you could hold the neck for a moment, you could squeeze the muscles, and then you could release. Keep holding it in the hands. And then let the hands begin to separate. And as you let the hands separate, excuse me, croaky morning voice. As you let the hands separate, let the weight of the head drop back through your hands. But let this be a very gradual thing. So you're sort of massaging the scalp. Weight of the head dropping back until it lands, excuse me, until it lands on the ground. And then feel the full weight of the head, neck and shoulders. Rub the hands together and give the neck a little squeeze, a little rub. Give the shoulders a little squeeze, a little rub. And touch the body in a way that would feel really comfortable and enjoyable. It gives you a sense of release. Yeah, and then let's just roll through the jaw. Give a little yawn. A little movement through the jaw. Bring the fingers onto the face and just massage from the corners of your jaw. So if you feel with your index fingers where your jaw, upper and lower jaw meet, and then move, just give a little massage into that space for a moment. Little circular massage, eyes looking directly up. And then let the lower jaw just fall away from the upper jaw and stroke as firm as you would like using your first 2 fingers from the top jaw down towards the lower jaw. And make your way towards the mouth. And just repeat a couple of times, stroking from the back of the jaw, 2 fingers starting at the top jaw and then stroking down towards the lower jaw. Couple more times. Yeah, and release. And just notice how the jaw feels, how the face feels. We're going to do one last little movement before we move on to some bigger body movements. So we're going to bring the hands once again underneath the head. And if you can't take both arms back, if that is very uncomfortable, sorry, I should have said, you could just use one hand. You could use one hand. So we're going to bring the first 2 fingers again of both hands into the soft space at the top of the neck where the neck meets the base of the skull. And there's a little kind of, it's almost like there's an arch there, a little soft space. And I want you to apply a little bit of pressure and just begin to massage into this space. And we're just gonna, this is a vagus nerve kind of reset, this particular practice. So if you aren't aware, there's a theory that the vagus nerve taps into the resting part of our nervous system and that we can stimulate it with certain eye movements in particular, certain bodily movements. So here by massaging this space, we're influencing the muscle tension, basal tension within the whole of the body. So relaxing the fingers, bringing the hands somewhere comfortable for a moment. Just roll the head from side to side and just notice how it feels. And then bring the head to complete stillness and just take the eyes as far over to the left as you can, as if you were trying to look right off into the left, into the distance, and just hold that gaze there for a moment. And notice if you begin to want to sigh or yawn. And don't worry if you don't, but just notice if you do. If you practice this at home for yourself, anywhere between 30 seconds and a minute or so. And then when you feel that you've maybe had a sigh or a yawn, or if you haven't had those and the eyes are tired, just come back to center, head super still, and take the eyes over to the right, doing the same. Carry the eyes all the way over to the right. Wait for a sigh or a yawn. And then release. Good. And then let's get a little bit more mobile. So let's just begin to sway the hips from side to side. Rolling the weight across the feet. All that sort of micro movement, if you like. Let's just get a little bit larger into the body. Let's just get a little bit juicier. Let the sway travel towards a twist if that would be comfortable. Feel free to just let the legs go as far over as works for your belly and your spine today. You could prop the legs if you wanted to. You could move much slower than me if you wanted to. As the legs fall to the left-hand side, you could just let them rest there. You could reach the right arm over your head if it would be comfortable too, or maybe out to the side along the ground if that's not comfortable. And just rest that arm. You might like to have it long. You might like to enjoy this sense of length and stretch by having the right arm long along the ground. You might prefer it bent and resting. And just feel how the weight of the body creates this opening through the side, just through gravity alone. Take a few breaths. And then let's sweep that right hand. If it doesn't want to come above the head, it could come across the body, those of you working with shoulder issues. If you're happy to, with that right hand above the head, sweep it, keeping the hand close to the ground, over to the left. So the body just sort of rolls toward the left. And you could just take a breath, see if you're holding in the body, and as you breathe out, just release. Just see what softness you can find just by breathing out through your attention. And then come back the other way. Take that top arm and roll it behind you over to the right side again. And then in your own way, you're just going to repeat that movement. So either the arm is just coming across the body as you roll to the left side, or it's coming above the head. You could take the arms flat over. Just a couple more times. Quite kind of soporific movement. We're just using the ground to massage the body, using the weight of the body and gravity to offer a little release. Make this your last one. And just be really present to that idea of release with the breath. And then let's come over onto the back. So making your way onto your back, again in a way that feels really comfortable to you. Bringing the feet onto the floor and just noticing one side of the body to the other. Again, how does it feel? If there's anything that feels different. And then taking maybe a sway of the legs from side to side. Bringing a little bit of movement back into the legs, the pelvis, the spine. Dropping the legs over to the right when you're ready. Supporting them if you need to. Left arm either out to the side or above the head along the ground. And just be here for a moment or two and just feel maybe if there's a difference from one side to the other. You could explore the elbow of the left arm being bent or being long. And then when you're ready, start that movement, whether the arm is coming across to lead you into the roll, or whether the left arm is stroking the ground above the head as you roll onto your right side. And the rest of the body could really just be quite passive. So you're recruiting the muscles needed to support the roll. So I might be pressing gently through that left foot as I roll over. And then once I'm rolling, I'm really trying to release with the breath any obvious holding in my body. Maybe take that once or twice more. And if there's a particular place along this journey that you quite like, that feels quite satisfying, maybe be there for a moment or two. And then we're actually going to stay on this left side. We're going to right side, push down through the left hand and come up slowly onto all fours. Let's come up. Come up slowly onto our all fours. And if you're working with any knee issues today, maybe placing a blanket just underneath the knees. Let's take the hands a little wide and let's just begin to move quite freely through the spine. So this sort of movement can be a pattern that you're very familiar with.
So for me, I'm just circling the spine to start. I'm shifting the weight between my knees, between my wrists. But really, it's about any kind of movement in the spine that feels interesting to you, that feels curious and satisfying in this moment. Just making space to see how this body might want to move. If you planted the word release in your attention, what would the body do? I'm just going to make some circles with my rib cage. So I'm moving the ribs to the side, lifting them up towards the sky, carrying them over to the other side, and then letting the ribs kind of drop down again through center. So it's as if the rib cage is inside a barrel and it's just moving inside this barrel. If the wrists are causing you any problems, you could drop down onto your forearms. So you could follow along with my movement, or you could just be really free. And the forward folds in our yoga shapes offer to bring us more spaciousness to the spine. Let's take a little look over the shoulder. Let's move the spine in some different ways to get a sense of release through the back. So let's bring the shoulders over the wrists. Notice if we're sinking and dropping, bowing through the front of the body. And bring a little buoyancy, a little lift to the front body. So it's a gentle press through the hands without overarching, overstimulating. And just have a little look over your right shoulder towards your right hip. And just pause for a moment, feeling that side body opening. And come out of it, release. And swing to the other side. Take the left, take the gaze over the left shoulder rather, back towards the left hip. Just hold for a moment. Breathe. And release. One more time to each side. Take the hold. Let the breath be as free as it can be as you hold the musculature of the body. Hold the stretch and then release. Other way. And release. And then just kind of snake the body, snake the spine a little bit. So I'm kind of moving my pelvis from one side to the other like a snake, just trying to find a little bit of fluidity, a little bit of ease. And I'm going to come back towards a child's pose now. If the bottom doesn't come back towards the heels, you could put a little cushion there. And you could, if you had something to lie onto, if you had a yoga bolster in front of you, you could bring that under the body now if that would be a nice thing to do. Otherwise, just bring the weight of the pelvis back. And then press through the knees and just come up a little bit. And just use that breath out. Really give away the weight of the pelvis. Release the weight of the pelvis back and down. And be very present to sensations around the lower back and the middle spine in particular. Elbows could rest if the wrists have had enough. Couple more breaths, just settling the pelvis back and down. And then maybe the next time the pelvis comes back towards the heels, you may be happy to just be there for a moment. You could support the head or let the head rest on the ground. I'm just going to check the time. Yeah, perfect. And then just have a little swing of the hips across the heels. So just shifting the weight of the pelvis from side to side. I hope those of you live this morning can see me okay with the light. Please always feel free to unmute at any time if it's difficult to hear or see me. And we're going to just kind of come up into a little forward fold. So when you're ready, we're going to come onto all fours. Spread the fingers, roll the shoulders and tuck the toes under. Take the weight of the pelvis back again onto tucked toes if that's available this morning. Feel that sense of stretch through the feet. So the feet aren't holding on, but there's a deep sensation, there is for me anyway, through the feet. We're going to come up to standing. If this transition doesn't work for you, you just come up into a standing forward fold in a way that does. But I'm going to press through my feet and roll the weight back towards my heels as I pad my hands in. And there's some space between my feet here. Knees are bent. So if coming close to the body is quite difficult for reasons of the spine, feel free to come up. But what I'd like you to experience, if the back is happy, is this flexion of the spine. So even if you're quite high in this shape, this tucking of the tailbone and this rounding of the spine and this sort of looseness in the arms. So that might look, if you're closer to the ground, a little bit more like this. And you could kind of catch the weight of the arms in the elbows. Just adding on that extra sense of load of weight to gravity, to that pull of gravity that just allows the spine to lengthen out of the pelvis, allows the head to release all effort of holding itself up, allows the neck to release. If the legs get very loud, just bend the knees a little bit. It will take a little bit of that loud sensation out of the hamstrings, out of the back of the legs. Taking a breath or two. And then we're just going to roll through the spine just a couple of times. We're going to roll up, knees bent, rounded spine, press through the feet. I may well just disappear slightly out of view. As you come up, shoulders will drop back and down, moving really nice and slowly. Feel the front body begin to open. Feel how the tailbone just drops a little. Front body opens, take the gaze all the way up. And then bring the chin towards the chest, around the spine, and curl and come all the way down. And as you move, just move with this idea of release. So we're releasing effort, as much effort as we can. We've got the legs firmly pressing the feet. They're very alive. There's a little bit of effort of the back to bring us up. And then when we're upright, a little bit of effort to lift the head gently towards the sky. But we're trying to stay as soft as possible. Next time we come down, we're going to come all the way down. So you may prefer to just come and sit now. Or if you want to follow with me towards the ground, bending the knees enough to get the hands on the ground, padding them forward into a down face dog. Just to get that release through the back of the legs before we set out into our day. And then let's drop down onto the knees. So you could choose to sit. I'm going to come forward onto the belly. So you can come down however you like or follow with me, bringing the weight of the shoulders over the wrists, just bending the elbows and releasing the weight to the ground. And make a little pillow with the hands. Take a few breaths. You might enjoy rolling over onto the back. You may prefer to sit or to stay in a different position just for the last few minutes. I'm going to roll to the side just to come to sit up. So as you rest here, just calling in that kind light of attention once again into the body, and just being very present to sensations of holding. This may be in a physical part of the body. Maybe that you've been holding on to a thought throughout the whole of this practice, something about what you've got to do today. And just imagine what release looks like for a minute. Just bring a picture to mind of what release looks like. Maybe it's a color, maybe it's a place, maybe bring that picture to your mind. And then when you're ready, use that picture and your breath out to invite that feeling of release into the body. Whether you're releasing the physical sensations or releasing the thought. Using that picture
to inform the body of how it would feel to release, and then letting the breath be that guiding invitation. If you have 5 or 10 more minutes to add on to this practice, just to rest, just to sit with that inquiry, that meditative release, you could. If you need to close practice with me now to carry on with the rest of your day, just bring a little movement back into the body in a way that feels active enough to bring in enough energy to see you out of the mat. Little stretch, little wriggle, but I would really encourage you to also just give yourself a really big hug of at least 30 seconds or so to get some of that oxytocin, that connection hormone going, that feel-good hormone. Give yourself a little wrap and a cuddle, one arm over the top, then the other. And then just slowly find your way up to sit when you're ready. Thank you so much for practicing.